Hey everyone, welcome back to Arbitrary 20. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Player's Handbook Playtest 7. Specifically for this video, we'll be looking at the Barbarian.
Alright, yeah, so we'll just be going through each of the changes here and talking about them. The first one is Danger Sense returning to level 2. I think in the last playtest it was combined at level 7 with Feral Instinct. So now returns to level 2 and now works even if you have the blinded or deafened condition. So nice small buff there and glad to see it back at level 2. And then the next change is a pretty big one. Reckless Attack now grants you advantage on your strength based attack rolls until the start of your next turn, which means things like opportunity attacks or subclass features like retaliation can also now benefit.
Yeah, I really like this. It's cool. It's more options. I like having more options.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that now reckless attack isn't just good on your turn, the buff from it still continues till the start of your next turn. It's not just a buff on your turn and then only a debuff for the rest of the time.
I mean, you're going to be reckless attacking quite a bit as a Barbarian.
You should always
yeah.
Unless you have another way to get advantage, you should just always use this.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, this is definitely like, why wouldn't you? Before it was why wouldn't you, but now it's of course why wouldn't you, yeah.
If you have a consistent way to get reaction attacks, this will be a pretty decent damage increase, which is cool. And then on to Primal Knowledge, pretty much the same, they just move the level, so you get an extra skill proficiency, and you can use strength for a certain list of skills while you're raging. So nice out of combat use for rage. Something Barbarians definitely needed was stuff out of combat. I don't know if this is quite enough there, but it's nice that they at least have something.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that. Like, it's cool to see the changes that they're making, like with the new rage. They're adding things that, you know, so you're not just like a combat only build, and that you can actually have fun doing other things and contributing to your party using utility outside of combat. So
you're actually going to be able to use this a decent amount with the rage being able to last 10 minutes and go outside of combat too.
Yes. Yeah. It all comes together and it makes it really work nice together, so I like that a lot.
Yes, and then Instinctive Pounce has been imported from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I believe that's the one. Yes, it lets you, when you use your bonus action to enter your rage, you can also move up to half your speed, so another nice speed increase on top of fast movement. With that, you pretty much should always be able to get into melee. I think even if with the standard 30, you're up to, well, this would, so you'd be moving about 60 feet.
I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but this doesn't consume this doesn't take away from the rest of your movement speed. Like, this is movement speed on top
of it.
Yeah,
so your speed would go up to 40 if you're a normal character once you get fast movement, and then this would bring it to 60 when the turn you rage.
Yeah.
And then Brutal Critical has returned, and it now deals an extra d12 damage on a crit, and it increases to 2d12 and then 3d12 at higher levels. So instead of having to use a great axe to get the most use out of this, you just always get a d12 regardless of what weapon you're using, which is kind of nice, but realistically this is still a bad feature, honestly. This is 1 average damage per turn, if that, so
yeah.
And Barbarians don't have any sort of expanded crit range, so unless you're taking like a few levels of Champion Fighter, you're really not going to see this super often. Crit Fisher builds in 5e right now aren't anything super special, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they've kept this around for the past couple playtests, and they keep like changing it and keep doing things with it, and it's like, I don't know, it's like they're afraid to give it too much, but it's like,
yeah, the last one was actually a bit better. Like, your Barbarian level is considerably higher than a d12 on average.
Well, unless you're doing like a different, like a build that uses like maybe like a d8, for example, weapon, isn't that just like effectively like a normal? I mean, I guess you're getting an extra d8 on top of the normal.
Well, yeah, so you're just getting an additional die. Yeah.
I don't know.
So if you are using a great axe, you get 3d12 instead of 2d12.
I just feel like if you're dedicating an entire level to like one feature, it should feel good when it comes up.
Yeah.
And like, this is fine, but like, it doesn't do a ton. And
which, when it gets to, yeah, I mean, even at 2d12 and 3d12, it could go 2d12, 4d12, and 6d12, and I don't think it would be, like, that crazy. At 6d12, it would be reaching, like, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, 17 levels into Barbarian.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, unless you're doing something that's based around crit fishing, yeah, you're still not going to see that come up that much. And 60-12 is, I don't know, that's like a normal spell. Not a normal spell, but that's like a mid-tier spell for any spellcaster.
Yeah, I honestly think they should take an approach more similar to the fighter, which I think we'll be getting to next video, but they seem to be just like bringing whole new features and redesigning those 9th to 13th level features in Fighter and Barbarian. They're just making Brutal Critical slightly better.
It makes me so sad, man.
I think they should just scrap Brutal Critical and do something way cooler there. But
yeah, I mean,
or just make it like insane compared to this.
Kind of hard to call something brutal when
Yeah.
it's not really that brutal.
It's not brutal at all. Yeah, having to get this ability is brutal. So anyway, Relentless Rage returns to level 11, I don't think with any changes. You drop to 0 hit points but don't die outright. You can make a con save, and you instead, if you succeed, your hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your Barbarian level, and each time you use it the DC increases by 5 and resets when you finish a short or long rest. Yeah, it's pretty much the same, I think. A decent feature. And then Persistent Rage returns to level 15, and the unconscious condition, not incapacitated, shuts off your rage. So it takes you fully going unconscious instead of just getting incapacitated. So that's a slight buff there. Yeah, just makes your rage last 10 minutes without needing to do anything to extend it. Only ends if you are unconscious or put on heavy armor. And then it also gives you a use of rage back when you roll initiative if you have no uses remaining. So once you get to level 15, you should have a rage every combat, which at least that part's nice.
Yeah, that feels good. It's a lot of investment, but like, I don't know, if you're going this far in a Barbarian, you should get rewarded, and you should be able to have rages when you go into combat, at the very least. Because what you have, if I remember, 6 at that level?
At this point, at 15th level, you have 5 rages.
5, okay. So
but, once you get this feature, that doesn't really matter. You just get one every combat for sure.
Typically, a Barbarian their job is to deal damage and do things. I don't know, when half your stuff is based around a rage feature, like you should be rewarded for being able to use those features.
And a lot of subclasses work just while you're raging too. So,
yeah, you shouldn't be locked out of all your stuff just because you don't have a key feature.
And then Indomitable Might returns to level 18 and now applies to strength saving throws as well as strength checks. So yeah, for a strength check or saving throw, if you roll less than your score, you can just use your score. Which for checks wasn't really that cool, but now that it also includes saving throws, I think that is a nice buff. I still don't think this is an 18th level feature. It is nice to see that at least.
I 100% agree with what you said.
And then lastly, Primal Champion returns back to the 5e version. Level 20, your strength and constitution scores increase by 4, and their maximum is now 24. I think this is honestly one of the better capstones in the game. I honestly feel like this could be a little bit better for level 20. Like this game has a lot of bad capstones. So like this one standing out doesn't mean a ton, but I don't know. I'd be okay if it stayed like this, but I also don't think anybody would be upset about the level 20 Barbarian having 26 strength or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they need to just go crazier with the capstone though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a reoccurring trend every time, we work on the surveys together or whatever. I think the thing that we always talk about every time is, capstones gotta be better. They gotta be better. Like, how are we, I mean, stuff is front loaded, so like that's one thing that's causing people to not straight class all the way to 20. But like when I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I know that there's capstones out there where it's like, why in the world would I work for 20 levels in this class?
This is one of them that you would at least consider not taking dips for.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's just like, this is okay, but like the rest of like 8 to 19 in Barbarian just really isn't that great. So maybe that's the reason this feels bad, but I don't know. Yeah.
It just needs to feel more powerful, all the way through. I mean, because at 20 you're effectively like a percentage of, I guess, like a god in a sense. Maybe like a percentage of a demigod. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the campaign you're in, yeah.
But like you're made it, Should get a high five at least for that.
Yeah, something good. But I think that's everything there. Yeah, and we're on to the subclasses. First up, the Berserker, which was shown in the last UA, so not too much new here. Just the level 14 feature changed from an action to a bonus action, which is nice. That makes it a lot better.
Didn't the 10th and 14th levels swap, or did I mix that up in my head?
I don't think so. Oh, they did. Yeah, from 5e. So Intimidating Presence was 10th and Retaliation was 14th. Yeah, I think they made Retaliation a little bit better. I don't think that's a huge deal. Like, a Frenzy is the main thing that needed to change, and it did in the last playtest with Barbarian. That's like a really good feature now. You get a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus once per turn. I think this might be the best Barbarian subclass 3rd level feature now, honestly. Especially with the next one getting nerfed, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
We'll probably get into that now. I don't think...
I mean, I like the old Frenzy, but it's hard. The math don't lie. Yeah.
Is the problem.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely better, just not having to deal with the exhaustion.
And there's other ways to get bonus action attacks too, so this is definitely better.
I just liked that other one. It just seemed cool, but... On to bigger and brighter things, I guess.
Yeah, on to the, well, not so much brighter. On to Path of the Wild Heart, which was the Path of the Totem Warrior. They now get Animal Speaker, which is just the same as Spirit Seeker, but it now clarifies the spellcasting ability. And then the 3rd level feature, now called Rage of the Wilds. They nerfed Bear option, no longer gives you resistance to all but one damage type. They think it was too powerful. No, it wasn't. It now allows you to gain resistance to 2 damage types of your choice. Eagle now lets you take both the dash and disengage action when you activate your rage, and as a bonus action. And then the range of Wolf increases to 10 feet. I believe it was 5 feet before. So yeah, Bear, huge nerf there. Well, I don't know. We were talking about this earlier. I don't think it's really that much of a nerf. In a lot of cases, I don't really think it's a nerf at all. It just becomes metagaming, honestly. Like, if you're a good player and by the description of a monster, you can usually guess what type of damage they're going to deal. This is basically going to be the same feature. You pick the 2 damage types that are going to come up most in that combat, and you're going to have resistance to them. You might get into arguments with your DM if your character is aware of that, or if it's just you aware of that. Which, I mean, honestly, like, at that point, just revert this, right? Like, if it's going to be the same feature in a good player's hands, but it's going to be less good in a newer player's hands, just make it how it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
to me, this just makes the feature more toxic at the table. But
that's the thing that I worry about for this. I mean, I think, if I remember correctly, the whole point, or one of the things they wanted to fix in all this 1D&D stuff versus 5e was to clarify things, make things easier for new players to understand.
And to avoid things where you're, they call them Mother May-I mechanics, like the Wild Magic Sorcerer.
Yeah, and this, like you just said, does the exact same, more or less does the exact same thing. Yeah, like they've just made an overcomplicated Bear Totem. Yeah. When you could just keep it simple and do the old one.
Feels bad, man, there. I hope we can just get that reverted. I don't think it was too powerful, really. But, like, the Barbarian's taking the most damage anyway when they're in melee. So,
Yeah, melee doesn't need any more nerfs at all,
But Eagle, that's kind of a nice buff. I still don't think either one of these compares to Bear, even in its nerf state. But it is nice, at least. You're able to take dash and disengage, and then you essentially give your allies pack tactics with Wolf. Again, they're nice, but I still don't think they compare to Bear, even in its nerf state.
Yeah, I think those other two only really work if you're building around it in like a party situation, but...
Yeah, Wolf could be okay, but I don't see choosing Eagle.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things you could do instead there, but I don't know. Bear's always been the good just because it's just works every time. Very reliable. So, I'm with you on that. I hope they revert that because it's just really overcomplicated. It does the exact same things it did before.
Yeah, in a lot of cases. I mean, there's going to be some fights where you go against 3+ different damage types, but like you pick the 2 that are going to happen the most, and most of the time you're going to be fine. So it's I think they should just revert that.
Does it? I also noticed this. Maybe this goes into the metagaming thing, but it says also that whenever you gain a Barbarian level, you can change your choice.
So that means change between Bear, Eagle, and Wolf.
Yeah. So like
that's a new thing too. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that?
I think it's fine. I feel like if you pick the right one in the first place, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
That more just is nice for newer players, I think, who want to change it up or don't really know exactly what the right choice is.
Right.
Want to test each one out. I think it's a good change. And then The level 6 one rather, aspect of the wilds now is called elephant, owl, and spider instead of bear, eagle, and wolf. They said that's just so you don't think you have to progress bear all the way through or wolf all the way through. You can pick whichever one you want each time. Like, that wasn't in the rules before, but just to make it clear that that's not what you have to do, they changed the animal types. So elephant now grants proficiency in athletics or insight, granting expertise if you already have it. Owl now grants proficiency in investigation or perception, granting expertise if you already have it. And then spider is stealth or survival. I mean, these are kind of nice. I think we still have the same kind of problem here. This just doesn't feel worth it compared to the level 3 feature. So like many bear totem barbarians, you're probably in 5e you're still just going to be leaving at level 5 because you don't care about level 6.
Yeah, that was my first thought too. It was like skill proficiencies and even expertise is wonderful. Like, it's a great thing to have, but
like,
I mean,
realistically, this is like a ribbon feature though for subclass.
Yeah.
One proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you get.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't feel worth it for a level 6 feature, because I can think of a lot of level 6 features off the top of my head that like feel way better than that. But
think about the new Path of the Giants level 6 feature. Like,
one of the many examples. It's cool. Like I said, having proficiency and expertise is great, but this just not up to snuff in my opinion.
And then level 10, once again, same thing, but they specified the spellcasting ability. And then level 14, Power of the Wilds, they changed the animal names to Lion, Falcon, and Ram. Lion is no longer stopped by immunity to the Frightened condition. Falcon now allows a persistent fly speed while your rage is active, provided you aren't wearing any armor. And Ram no longer uses your bonus action, but requires a saving throw. So, for Lion, any of your enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another barbarian with this feature, so sort of a taunt. Falcon, I think definitely the best one here, just gives you a fly speed equal to your speed while you're raging. And then Ram essentially gives you the topple mastery on all of your hits. I think Falcon is definitely the best one there, and really useful for a barbarian, so you can fight flying enemies.
Yeah, because at this level,
There's
they're pretty common.
Flying enemies, yeah.
I like the other options too, just for unique features. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with having a fly speed.
And on to the new one, the Path of the World Tree. At level 3, you get Vitality of the Tree. When you activate your rage, you regain a number of hit points equal to your Barbarian level. And at the start of each of your turns, while your rage is active, you can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself. Gain temporary hit points. To determine the number of temporary hit points, roll d6s equal to your rage damage bonus and add them together. If any of those temporary hit points remains, when your rage ends, they vanish. This definitely isn't bad. A heal when you enter your rage, and then temporary hit points to one of your allies. Well, as long as they're within 10 feet of you every turn. I think that should be up to like 30 feet maybe. So you actually get use of this for sure every turn. But it's not bad. I mean, the obvious comparison here is Twilight Cleric.
Yeah, that's the bar.
Which pales in comparison to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is still a good feature, I think.
Yeah.
If it was like within 30 feet of you, and it was like yourself and an ally, there we go.
Yeah, that feels...
This just doesn't feel like enough, honestly. And then at level 6, this one's not bad. Whenever a creature you can see ends its turn within 20 feet of you, you can use your reaction to summon spectral branches of the world tree around it. The target must succeed a strength saving throw or be teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of yourself, or the nearest unoccupied space you can see. The space the target teleports to must be on a surface or liquid that can support it, otherwise the target doesn't teleport. And then it just says that the new player's handbook will clarify that a creature can voluntarily fail a saving throw. So you could potentially use this to move your allies as well. The only thing I think I don't like about this is that it's at the end of your turn. Like, if you could use this a little bit more proactively, I think it would be really good.
The end of the turn stuff, like, I don't know, right off the bat, it reminds me of the Shield Master feat with that bonus action on the end. It's just, yeah, it's kind of awkward. Like, it works, but sometimes
It'd be a lot nicer if you could do it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly don't even... I mean, yeah, you could definitely use this as, like, a combat, but I see a lot more uses out of combat, personally. Just, move your allies around and then have them voluntarily fail the saving throw, and you just move them around. And,
or like just avoiding obstacles like that outside of combat.
Yeah, I see this as more of like an out of combat thing. That's how I would use it personally, but because it's just, I mean, using your reaction to move people around.
Yeah. If it was like your bonus action and you could move somebody within 20 feet into melee and then attack them, that would be a lot more interesting. But yeah.
It's a cool concept though. I
agree, yeah.
It's just an awkward kind of feature. How do you use this, you know?
Mm-hmm. And then at level 10, you get Battering Roots. While you wield any melee weapon, your reach with that weapon increases by 10 feet. And when you hit with it, you can activate the Push or Topple property, even if you're using another Mastery property with that weapon. So this one's not bad. Your standard reach goes to 15 feet, and then if you're using a polearm, you go to 20 feet. If you have a race that has increased reach, you're at 25. Which is pretty insane. You could be melee attacking from 20 feet away, which ironically kind of makes the previous feature obsolete, 20 feet of you pulling them, but
yeah,
at least in combat it makes it kind of obsolete. But yeah, this level 10 feature is pretty cool.
You could effectively like prevent, like with the topple, you could prevent people from coming near you. You just keep them in like a...
Well, if you have
it all built up,
too.
But even then, like 10 feet away, like if they have 5 foot reach, they just sit there. You know?
That's if you're able to stop their movement. But if you attack them, if you opportunity attack them when they get to 20 feet and you knock them prone, then I mean, yeah, they're pretty much done.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I mean, there's ways you could go about doing that, but yeah, I like it. It's cool, neat little feature.
And then at level 14, you get Travel Along the Tree. You can touch a huge or larger tree. Or a teleportation circle to create a link through the world tree to a teleportation circle somewhere else on the same world or on another plane of existence. When you do so, you can specify a target destination in general terms, such as City of Brass and the elemental plane of fire, and you and up to 5 willing creatures within 30 feet of you teleport at the teleportation circle closest to the destination. So it's pretty much like a nerfed version of Plane Shift. You can use once per long rest, or you can expend 5 uses of rage, which you would never do unless you're on a day that you know has no combat.
Yeah. I think it's weird that they make it 5 willing creatures. I know that's like a really specific thing to look at, but Plane Shift is 8. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that's still going to cover most parties.
It'll be fine. It's just kind of weird, like, why did they put that like that when other people in your party have the same level?
Yeah, I mean, it also sucks that you're getting just this and not, like, any kind of damage or something like that. Like, this whole subclass doesn't get any damage increase, so in that respect, you're going to be falling behind some of the other Barbarian subclasses.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to play, but yeah, that's if you're not worried about dealing damage, then this is a good subclass, but it doesn't really do a whole lot in combat, which is maybe that's a good thing, especially with the new rage, being 10 minutes long. Does a lot of out of combat stuff, and there's a lot of things here that, I guess with the exception of the level 10 feature, that has some pretty, I would say, some pretty good uses outside of combat, and I guess maybe also the level 3 feature, that excluding that one too.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like the subclass is very much lacking some kind of damage increase. I guess it has pretty good defensive abilities with the vitality, but
it's the Barbarian. You should be dealing damage.
Yeah.
So
feature's not bad though. But anyway, on to the last one, the Path of the Zealot. Small buff to Divine Fury. You now get to choose between radiant damage or necrotic damage when you hit with the ability. And before it was just you had to choose when you gained the ability, and it was just permanently radiant or necrotic for the rest of your character's career. So that'll be nice to avoid resistances and things like that. And then small buff to Warrior of the Gods as well. When you're healed by a spell or a magic item, you can roll a d12 and regain additional hit points equal to the number rolled, and you can use this a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier per long rest. And then you still don't need material components to get stuff like Revivify or Raise Dead cast on you. So nice little buff there, additional healing. And then Zealous Presence now allows you to use it multiple times between long rest by expending uses of your rage. I don't know if you would ever do that at least not until you get unlimited rages with that level 15 feature. I mean, it is technically a small buff as well. And then pretty big nerf to Rage Beyond Death here, but the concept is kind of cool. When you're Relentless Rage, the one where you make a save and then it restores you to twice your Barbarian level and hit points, you assume the form of a Spectral Warrior. While in this form, you have a fly speed equal to your speed and can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take a d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or an object. When you're hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to turn that hit into a miss. Form lasts for 1 minute or until you regain any hit points or drop to 0 hit points. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Whereas before, Rage Beyond Death was just, as long as you keep raging, you keep going. You can die and you just still keep going. So
it is quite literally raging beyond death.
Yeah, it used to be a lot better. So yeah, before raging, having 0 hit points doesn't knock you unconscious. You still make death saving throws and stuff for the normal effects of taking damage while at 0 hit points. However, if you would die due to failing death saving throws, you don't die until your rage ends, and you die then only if you still have 0 hit points. It was much better before, and this didn't even have a once for long rest. So every rage, you could just be invincible. Okay, sure, maybe a little too powerful, but I don't know.
I don't think that's too powerful at all. I mean,
I don't either, but like, I can see why someone would think that.
I mean, obviously, your goal is to not die in combat, so you're not trying to get you like. That's one of those features that like you kind of don't want to use. But like when it happens, like you want to use it.
Yeah. One thing that kind of irks me though with this and the Gloomstalker from the last playtest is they kind of try to like sidestep the fact that it was a nerf and like talk about it like it's a good thing. Like Rage Beyond Death now turns you into a warrior spirit after you successfully use your Relentless Rage. Like they completely ripped the feature in half, and they're just talking about it like
a warrior spirit. Yeah. You don't even talk about a warrior spirit.
And then the Gloomstalker one,
it does. You assume the form of yeah.
And then the Gloomstalker one, they talked about it like it was better, and it's like just say it's a nerf. Say it how it is.
I mean, maybe it's almost disrespectful to to name it the same feature as the last feature and then have it say this.
Yeah.
There's no death involved here, right?
Well, I mean, the Relentless Rage is like when you would have gone down, you make a save and come back up. But yeah, no, compared to the last feature, this still is just nothing. I feel like.
I mean, I like the old one better.
It is what it is. Well, hopefully we can get it back.
We'll put that in the survey and hope something comes out of it.
Looks like that's it for the Barbarian. In the next video, we'll be talking about the Fighter, so hopefully you'll join us for that. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.